If every AI conversation feels both important and impossible to prioritize, you're not alone. The AI+HI Project 2026 cuts through the noise with immersive learning, live demonstrations, and peer-driven labs focused on real HR challenges. Whether you're building a foundation or reimagining HR at scale, you'll leave with clarity, confidence, and tools you can use immediately. Space is limited. Register now at shrm.org/AIHIPod.
The top 2 survival skills, period, for all generations is adaptability and ideation. So adaptability, it's like things are going to change. And ideation, which is what I call creative iteration.
No matter where you are in the world, if you're clocking in for work these days, you're likely hearing about the words artificial intelligence. It may be repetitive, and if you haven't heard of it, you might be living under a rock here. But you also might be wondering what it means for your individual job. Headlines are warning about automation and job displacement, but what's really happening in 2026? Are robots coming for your desk, or is the reality a little more nuanced than that? Today, we're going to focus on workers' biggest fears about AI, debunking as many as we can along the way, and diving into how to position yourself for success in this AI-driven world. To guide us through this conversation, we have an extra special guest. We're joined by Nichol Bradford, host of the AI+HI Project podcast and SHRM's executive in residence of AI+HI, which, by the way, stands for Artificial Intelligence plus Human Intelligence. And Nichol, we're so happy to have you on All Things Work. This feels like a crossover episode. And I just love speaking with you all the time. I always feel like I am learning something from you every day in the world of AI. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we can just dive right into it. We know that SHRM just released some recent data regarding AI and job displacement risk, and it discusses how there are millions of jobs out there that are 50% or more automated in their tasks. And there's a lot more nuance to it. We can dive into a little bit later, but I know you had a separate episode with our lead researcher on that subject, Justin Ladner, on AI+HI. So we are going to leave the expert to that. But for our audience, can you help clarify what the everyday worker needs to really understand about this with the more job transformation than job displacement, regardless of what they're in or career level they're at?
So the way to think about, when you think about your job is a collection of tasks. And some of those tasks are more interesting, and some of those tasks are a little bit more repetitive. And the repetitive tasks that are in your job basket are things that are really accessible for AI to use AI for. And so for the everyday worker out there who's thinking about, how will AI affect my job? What do I need to be thinking about? The way to do it is to look at the tasks that you have and to evaluate which ones really create a great deal of value. So we have value tasks that we do that maybe whether your audience is internal or external. So if you're in HR, high value tasks include when you're coaching employees, when you're working with a manager to help them understand what they actually really need in the role. Those are very high value tasks. And then you have some process tasks, things that just sort of help move things along. Those tasks are tasks that are very ripe for automation. And, when you're looking at your basket of tasks, what you want, over 50%. You want 60, 70% of your tasks to be the things that create value internally or externally for your company. And you want to, yourself, you want to do it before anyone else does it for you. You want to start to take the tasks that are really just more process related and see how you can assertively reduce those, use AI to make those easier for you so you can expand that basket of high value tasks. That's the way I would say to think about it. And the funny thing is that you can actually even use AI to do that. You could take your resume, you could take your job description, you could take your task description. And one of the things that I do a lot, I hope everybody out there is talking to AI. What I do is I'll turn on my phone, I'll turn on the audio for ChatGPT, and you could just talk. So talk about what you do in your day and ask which out of all these things I told you that I do in a given day, what is easily automatable? And then you can sort of like see what it looks like for you and take the lead on moving your job basket towards high value.
I love that. It's such a visual with the job basket. And I love that you also talked about talking to AI because some people might feel a little uncomfortable or kind of weird. Like they're like, wait, I'm just kind of saying my thoughts out loud to this computer. But it's actually very helpful. And I do that on my own because sometimes even in the simplest things, I'm thinking to myself, how do I move forward with this? So I'll explain my situation to the AI platform and sometimes they'll throw something at me. I'm like, "Oh, wow, I never thought of that." Or they'll even just, maybe it'll be repetitive and something I already thought of. So it can't hurt to do that. So I love that you brought that up.
One interesting thing, there was some interesting research that showed that people who are good at managing people often also tend to be good at managing agents. Because like when you manage a person and they do something wrong, you explain to them why they did something wrong. Or when you have a new person coming on, you expect to be able to need to explain how you want it done. And so, people who are great managers, who are good at giving feedback or good at giving direction, good at giving feedback, and can do that, they also tend to be really great at using AI.
Yeah, that makes sense because at the end of the day, doesn't matter if it's a person or AI in front of you, communication's key here. And you gotta have effective communication, like like you said, with the manager and their direct report or their new trainee. So I love that you brought that up. I think that's a skill humans really need to continuously develop. It's not just a one and done training. It's an everyday learning experience, and AI is not going to fully displace us on that. So, so focusing a bit more on how this might impact different generations. I know I posted on LinkedIn just the other day about how a family member of mine at the Christmas table for dinner we asked him to answer the house phone because it was our family older generation's house and they had a house phone and he's 13 years old. He had no idea how to answer that phone because it was a house phone. But if I handed him the most advanced iPhone or iPad or any kind of technology that maybe I might not be the best at, he could fix things, do things inside out, and probably more than I can. And so we're seeing that difference, that real significant gap between generations of what we learned in those developmental years. So do you have any insights on who might most be affected here in this, turn of AI that we're seeing coming into 2026?
So some of the interesting things and we're about to come into a stage where we have some organizations have, 4 generations in the organization at the same time, which is just really amazing. I was talking to someone who worked at a very, old, well-established law firm. And so they had everything from, the 22, 23-year-olds all the way up to people who are in their, late 60s because the founders were still there. And so it's like multi-generation. I mean, to your point, which you said earlier, the number, so the top 2 sort of, I call them the top 2 survival skills, period for all generations is adaptability and ideation. So adaptability, it's like things are going to change. And ideation, which is what I call creative iteration. Because one of the things that is happening is that the tools are shortening the length of time between an idea and sort of like what the next step is. So, from whether it's, doing an analysis that used to take us weeks or, actually even creating software. A friend of mine was in a meeting a little while ago, and it was right when Lovable first came out, which is, for everyone out there, Lovable is a software development platform. And you can just you can just say, oh, I want something to help me with X. And it will build the software for that within 10 minutes.
Wow.
It's really amazing.
Wow.
And Google just has a thing called Disco that just came out, and it's going to do that all inside your Gemini. So that distance between an idea and that first execution that used to take us weeks or maybe even months is, down to almost immediately or maybe a day. And so with that, the ability to ideate and creatively iterate with your teams, really important. But what that leads to is that the for people who are leaders, and I think one of the distinctions that is important to know is that when you have a completely new wave of technology coming, what it means to lead. It isn't necessarily who's a leader on the hierarchy, on the org chart, but it's like in every group that you're in, at work and also at home, because your friends and your family are also facing this change, no matter where they are. It's affecting all of us. It's like the advent of electricity. And so being the kind of person who learns and changes, but also, is the kind of person that wherever you go, everyone who's there is more ready to learn and to change. Like, so that empowering people to learn and change around you, being the kind of person where people around you become empowered to learn and change, because we're all kind of going through this together, just like we all pandemicked together, learned how to pandemic together. We have to learn how to AI together. So what that means for having different generations who are in the workplace, it's affecting everyone a little bit differently. So one of the things that we've seen now is that, the ability to really interrogate, so you get an output, and to really question it, because you need to really question it. And you also need to apply it to your unique case, because if you take it as is, any output that you get, if you take it as is, there are millions of people who get the same output for the same question. So like if you were a product manager, or you say, what are the top 4 reasons people in their 20s quit? Everyone who asks that question is getting the same answer. So you have to be specific. What are the top 4 reasons that people in their 20s quit in frontline situations in, Southeast Texas? And you have to have, so the knowledge. So if you're an older worker, or, if you're in some previous generations, and you're in the workplace and you have this deep domain expertise, your ability to prompt and to interrogate output with your deep knowledge base means you're going to get better results than other people. So, workers that have been around for a while and have deep domain expertise, this is really your moment. And so if you really embrace the tools and really start to use them, your work product and your discernment on what the output is going to be better than anyone's, really, because you have a great deal of what's called tacit knowledge. And tacit knowledge is the things that you know that are not in the models yet. And so that group really has to, I advise you, like, just lean in and become a user of the tools, because the knowledge that you have isn't in the models yet. And so that can be very valuable for people in the middle generation. And I'll go to the early career people coming in too. One of the really important things to do is, you've probably noticed, like, the senior executives are talking about this, where every Monday, like 100-page reports come in that people have used AI to generate. So it's called work slop. And so the work slop is going through the roof, and it's making it really hard for people to know what to pay attention to. So it's actually slowing things down. So for everyone in the middle,
Wow.
like really learn how to use AI as an organization, as a team. But that is where I think the sweet spot is, because organizations are still groups of people working together to solve problems. And so that is super high value, because right now teamwork is a big problem with AI. And then for people coming in, that's a whole new kettle of fish. Like they're AI ready, but at the same time, organizations are, a bit slower to bring in early career, because there's a lot of things that those people did that people are using models to do.
Hey everyone, we'll get right back to the episode, but first, if you've been following the headlines about automation and generative AI, you know the conversation around job displacement is more urgent than ever. SHRM's new data brief, based on the groundbreaking 2025 Automation AI survey with over 20,000 US workers, offers actionable insights into how these technologies are reshaping the workplace, which jobs face the highest displacement risk, and what barriers exist to automation adoption. Whether you're a business leader, HR professional, or simply interested in the future of work, this report delivers data driven analysis to help you navigate the complex impact of automation and AI on employment. For instant access on YouTube, just click the link above or check the episode description. This is one of the many ways SHRM empowers you to stay ahead in a rapidly evolving landscape. Now, let's get back to the conversation. So, Nicole, for our next segment, I'd love to see how you personally integrate AI into your daily work. You kind of gave us a little snippet of how you say you talk to the platform, to get a response, and kind of the tips and tricks of how to make sure you're getting the most out of it as well. So, can you walk us through what a day in your life looks like with AI, but incorporating your own human intelligence to collaborate partnership?
Yeah, my average day in the life is that um, different ways that I use AI. A great deal of the work I do includes connecting with and looking for people to have conversations with on subjects that are important to the future of health work or cities. And so I use a tool called Happenstance, and it allows you to natural language, just like you query ChatGPT, you can query your entire network, LinkedIn plus email plus Twitter, and say, who do I know who blank? So I usually start my day with generating a list around that of people that I'd like to um, connect with, engage with on different subject matters. And then I, have my team start to book meetings with those people. And then I'll get to my big thoughts, or the questions that I'm really exploring. So I'll take some quiet time where I think through what my thesis is before I start using the different LLMs. And so I really think through, like, what do I think about this topic, and what are my theories that I want to, prove are true or not true. And then usually if I'll go to Perplexity first, because Perplexity is great for research. And with that, I can see, just like it's a better way to search for news, and to educate myself
It
about
is.
different aspects of the theory that I've already sort of worked through. Then I might take that over to Notebook LM. And that what makes that kind of interface interesting is that you can do deep research in it, but it pulls in actual documents, and then that becomes the center of its world. And so, if you're using AI a lot, you've probably noticed that things will really drift. And one little word change that you didn't pay attention to can change your entire output. So I like to get my act together before I start to use the ChatGPTs of the world. And then I will sometimes take a walk after I've read all that I've told you about, and I'll just talk to it. And but I'll put in the prompt: you are taking a transcript. You are not to you're not to change or shift or evaluate this. I just want you to take out filler words and record what I'm saying. And so I'll do that. So, and just talk to it for a while. And then I'll have all of those transcripts, plus my outline. And from that, then I'll start to, shape an article or, something that I'm working on.
I love that. You brought that up, and when you said LLM, is that remind me as someone who's not maybe the most techie person? Is that language learning model? Is that what it stands
Yeah.
for?
So ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok and, all of those, there's about 8 big Western large language models.
Hmm. Hmm.
Pi at inflection is another one. And so that's what an
Hmm.
LLM is.
Okay, awesome. I just want to break that down for maybe our less techie parts of the audience, for people like me. So we talked a lot about how AI can be seen by some people who may not be as familiar with it as well. It seems foreign. It may seem even threatening to their career. What's that mindset that you took on, or that you would advise other people to take on, that really helped you embrace AI as a partner with your human intelligence to advance your career, transform your career, rather than just take it away?
I'll go back to what I said before. It's really, you know, being willing to adapt. You have to really be willing to adapt. You have to be willing to ideate, which also means you have to be willing to experiment. Um, and it, to do it for yourself before the world does it for you. And you have to be willing to learn, and you have to be willing to change. And I think if you focus on that, then you'll be in a good position. One thing that I think is good for families to do is, and I advise people do this a lot, as a
Mhm.
family on Friday, decide that you're going to do your own family hackathon and have the goal be that by Sunday afternoon, you have set up a business that you completely created and generated everything with AI, whether it's the website or whatever, um,
Cool.
the software, whatever you do, set up something and be in the position where you can take money by by the end of the night on Sunday. So do a family hackathon to set up an actual business together. And by doing that, it'll get you to use all the tools, and you have an outcome where, like, the success or failure is like, can you take money by midnight on Sunday, and do it as a family and use it to really explore? And it's good for everybody to just get hands on. It'll make it a lot less scary, because then you'll see, oh gosh, I actually get a lot of power out of this. Software is power.
I love that. That's fun. That sounds like fun. I might actually try to. I know that I definitely try to just play around with it, just to try different things, and I even just Google, what are some of the news platforms for specifically what I'm looking for that might actually be helpful, because it's not just one AI platform that works for everything. There's so many different industries and jobs and sectors out there that AI is evolving to meet the needs of.
I think is really important for everyone out there is that, do not approach this like you have to do it on your own. Like, you don't have to do it
Yeah.
on your own. So just like I just
Mhm.
said, you can have a family hackathon. Like, have the family hackathon, and then you'll get to see, by using it as a group, as a team. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
it really changes your fear level around it. And also at work, do the same thing. Like, you don't have to learn how to use the tools by yourself. Like, have a Friday lunch bunch where you just take the list of what's new, and sit together and try it. Or a great way to not, to not have AI, dumb things down, like lose your edge, is that any prompt or any output that you get, have lunch with a peer, um, and talk about it together, read it, and then discuss it. It'll show you the flaws in its thinking, when you see the thinking. So it's like, I would say if there's a big takeaway, do not do this alone. You don't have to do this alone. And if you're afraid, one of the best ways to lower that fear is to do it with people that you care about, whether it's your team or your spouse or your kids.
And remember that basket of skills example you brought up. So that's all together just wonderful advice. And I feel like we only got a small snippet of all that you know because you're just so well versed in all of this and you have a lot of experience. So thank you for sharing a snippet of everything you know and a day in your life because I really hope this can guide someone who may be at the more beginning stage of it. So thank you for this crossover episode with All Things Work today, Nichol.
My pleasure.
All right, that's all for this week. We'll catch you next time. If you enjoyed our conversation today, be sure to subscribe wherever you enjoy your podcast so you never miss a new episode. Also, did you know All Things Work is more than a podcast? That's right, we're also a weekly newsletter that includes in-depth articles and the latest research from SHRM to keep you in the know. Just head to shrm.org/allthingswork to sign up. Plus, follow SHRM on social media to view the latest clips and join the conversation on game-changing topics that are redefining the world of work.
SHRM.